Welcome to Idling in the Impala, a podcast by and for lovers of supernatural and the fan fiction it inspires. I'm Sandra.
I'm Karlee, and today we are bringing you, it could be a regular thing, it could be a one-time thing. We don't know at time of recording, but it's a little segment we're calling Sandra Watches the Winchesters, tells Karlee about it. Karlee pretends they're going to go watch the Winchesters and then doesn't. Because not only can Sandra access the Winchesters being in the USA, she is a lot more lenient than I am. And I refuse to watch it even though I could use a totally legal VPN to access it. So, like we said, we don't know if this is going to be a regular thing or if there's just going to be a couple of these clips that we put together because Sandra gives up on the show. We will find out. You will find out with us. So, Sandra, take it away. Tell us about the first episode of The Winchesters.
So, I will say it felt like coming back to something. It felt familiar right away. It didn't feel like they were in another, like they were trying really hard. The cold open was kind of like, it felt that you could, it said New Orleans right away. Okay. Yeah. So did we say spoilers? I can't remember, but if you haven't watched it,
warning.
I'm going to be talking about stuff. There's just no way not to. So it said New Orleans, shadowy character that you don't really know who he is right away, but then you see SC on his bag. So it's like, oh, Samuel Campbell. But you don't see his face. It looks very Indiana Jones, him going into a crypt and, the men of letters symbols and all this kind of stuff. And then you see that he gets attacked by this spider thing. I couldn't tell right away. It seemed like there were a lot of legs, but I could be totally making it up. But you didn't see like it full on. And I should preface by also saying my husband was watching with me. He very much wants to watch this together too. So like I said, we're going to see how it plays out. So he was kind of here and there. Like I was doing my thing where I was like, oh, SC, you know who that's supposed to be? And he just looks at me. I'm like, that's Sam Campbell. That's the bald guy, the bald grandfather. He's like, okay, fine. So he's trying to figure out timeline and all that stuff. I'm like,
was it actually Mitch?
No, you didn't see the character. You couldn't see who it was. So from what we've learned from Jensen and Danielle talking about the show at, I think, Comic-Con, we now know Tom Welling from Smallville that played Clark Kent is going to be Samuel Campbell. So I think they intentionally, when they did the pilot, they weren't going to give you who is this, what does this person look like, just give you hints about this is who it is. So
that's the potential to shape up interesting, given that they've called back Gil to play Henry, who quite famously fucked off when John was a kid. I'm like, where are you fitting into this, friend?
Yeah, it's really, so when this feels like a Fix-It fanfic. This feels like all the things we as writers do with a story, especially pre-series and all this play in the sandbox thing to me. And I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing now that I watch the episode, because I'm like, what are they going to do with all of this time that they have? Because I really stopped and I thought about it. So it's starting in 1972. I know Dean doesn't come back, right? His whole time travel thing until 73. Then Sam and Dean don't go back again until 78. So if they've got time to play with where there's nothing quote unquote canon that we've seen, which again, what is canon in Supernatural when they've already shown us all the many ways that the boys are reliving or redoing things, or we've seen a scenario, right? Like in and again, I'm going to be going back and forth because all these thoughts just keep popping into my head. Season 5, when the boys die and go to heaven and they go and see Ash,
Yeah.
Ash says, "Oh, you guys have done this 100 times already." We don't see all of those different ways that that's happened, right? We just see this one instance and how it plays out.
Mm-hmm.
My thinking is because Karlee immediately, first episode, John Winchester finds out about the Men of Letters, gets a note that was sent to him from his dad. If he was dead, he gets
Oh.
this note, he gets this key. Even if the original meeting, right, which I think the story is John bumped into Mary outside of a movie theater, right? I think that's what it is. Like, that's how they met. Um, they show that first, right? It's a
Mm.
meet cute, they bump into each other. Then they meet again when he's trying to find this place that this letter talks about. That's when they meet again. And it's the whole here's a demon, all this kind of stuff. He gets the whole info dump. He gets all of the information. He knows about the Men of Letters. He knows about hunting from Mary. He gets involved in it. So my thinking is they're either going to do a Groundhog Day mystery spot bullshit, right? This is what I'm thinking, where I think they're going to have them meet, and I could be totally wrong, but I'm throwing this out there now in case I'm right. I think they're going to have
Mm-hmm.
them meet a bunch of times. And I don't know if it's going to get wiped from both of them or just from John until it happens in the timeline the way that they want it to. So I think it could happen a bunch of times in this short period of time
Mm.
if they throw God in and they throw the angels in, which they got to do. They've got to do if they're going to change this initial thing that they're showing, which is that John now knows everything. And he's basically going on a hunt with Mary, the two other hunters that team up, and then there becomes another person. So it's like 5 people. So it's like the Scooby Gang,
Mm.
even in a van.
My God.
So my thing is, like, at the very end of this first episode, it's like they've got their group together. And I will say, I really do like the actor and the
Mm.
character of young John, because it's all of the things that the little bits and pieces of information about his character and his personality. You learn about Vietnam. You can tell he's suffering from some PTSD. One of his best friends dies in battle in front of him. So I think he feels like he could have saved that person. So he's carrying that guilt. He says he feels like he's being haunted by the ghost of this guy.
Mm.
He comes back to his hometown in Lawrence, back from the war. He reminds me of, I feel like Jensen told this actor, study the first few episodes of Supernatural and Jared. He
All
is,
right.
honestly, he embodies a lot of Sam's thirst for knowledge, his wanting to find his father. He wants to find what happened to his dad, right? Because Henry Winchester, quote unquote, fucked off, which we know wasn't the case.
Yeah.
But you can tell he's always wanted to find out what happened to him. So that translates to me into John's obsession with his dad, John's obsession with Mary. So there's that through line of personality that even if he gets wiped of memory, I feel like at the core, the way the person functions and what their goal is, that made sense to me when I started to think about it a little bit more. Yeah, I do. I like the actor. I like the actor that plays him.
Mm.
That's not going to absolve Daddy John. You know what I mean? Like, but I can see here's here are these people before all of this other shit happen to them kind of thing.
Yeah.
So John, I think, really fills in the what you could imagine kind of like the Sam role a little bit. And then Mary some of the Dean traits or characteristics, I think. Um, in that Ted watched the first instance where you see her um battling a demon, and he's like, oh god, he's like, this is just like she's like Buffy, she's like a badass, like that badass hunter, like he got that vibe like immediately.
Mm.
He's younger because I think she's only supposed to be like 18, 19. um so there was that. The side characters are all interesting. um there's a girl named Lotta, which apparently Mary's dad saved from something monstery related, and that got her. She's kind of like the research person, and then she gets, involved in that. Then there's Carlos, who is immediately you find out is bisexual because he's had a crush on Mary, and something about like had a boyfriend, or so right away you get that vibe. um then there's, and this kind of bothered me, but I'm wondering if it might end up being a thing later on. They showed a younger black woman in a kind of like an occult shop in Texas. I immediately thought that was Missouri Mosley. Turns out it wasn't, but I was like, wouldn't that be cool if that's a
That would have been
character?
good.
But what
Yeah.
I'm thinking is there's all this wiping and all this changing and all this whatever that's got to happen around John. What if she becomes quote unquote Missouri Mosley once
Yeah.
all of this stuff? So that was another thing I thought about. Um, so yeah, I didn't want to like the character of John, but this actor did so many things that reminded me of Sam that I kind of was like, oh, you know what I mean? Like it's kind of like
Hmm.
it kind of brought me into that from that perspective. The mom is actually John Winchester's mom is actually the mechanic,
Oh, that's
has the
interesting.
garage. So where Henry Winchester, I think, was more the bookie dude, um, mom ended up being the mechanic because she'd learned about cars from her dad. So I thought that was a nice twist on it. Because I was like, how does that work exactly? Because I couldn't imagine Henry Winchester as being a car guy.
So
So
let me just. John's mum is
mm-hmm,
the mechanic.
mm-hmm,
Huh.
yeah.
Nurse, we have a plot hole. If John's mum was a mechanic who raised him after Henry fucked off, but not really, why would John have been looking so puzzled in Supernatural when Dean goes back and he's gonna buy a car? And he's like, and Dean's like, you should buy the Impala. And John's like, and
Well,
appears to know nothing about cars. I
rem-
have questions.
no. So I believe that that's not what I got from that. What I got from that was he wanted to get the van because Mary wanted him to get the van. Dean
Yeah, but
talked him into the Impala.
Dean talked him into the Impala, but Dean's like, oh, look at all this under the hood. And like, John should have known that,
No, I
in
think
theory.
I think if you rewatch it, I don't think it was ever stated he didn't know about cars. I don't know. I'll have to look at it again. I'll have to look at that episode
I would have to rewatch it
because I
again.
don't feel like
Yeah.
it was that. I feel like he was being pushed, but he really probably would have gone for that because Mary's driving a nice little like sports car in this episode. So I think she wants the van because that's what they used to do, like the Scooby Gang. It was like they
Yeah,
were in a
maybe.
van. So I don't know.
Maybe.
But when John meets Mary, it's apparent that for she lost a cousin due to some monster hunter thing that was around her age. You immediately get the vibe she wants to get out of hunting. So the thing
Hmm.
is, like, John's just ready to dive into it. Mary doesn't want any part of it, but they're starting to figure out because they have to figure out what happened to Samuel Campbell. He's gone missing.
Right.
And that's how it kind of intertwines them into finding out more about the men of letters and trying to find Sam. And so that's like kind of where the the end of the episode is like they're all together trying to find Sam Campbell.
That's a really good. I like. I'm not happy about any premise of this TV show, and I will
Mhm,
go into why. But that's
mhm,
a really nice throwback that
mhm,
they're looking for a dad
mhm,
again. You know,
mhm.
same fucking story. Hunter dad goes missing.
Yeah,
I like that. That's
yeah.
a
And they did
nice
have
link.
little Easter eggs and little things that they threw in, but um, like John does actually state saving people hunting things, but he never adds the family business to the end of it. But he puts that in there because it's kind of like maybe like his draw, like he feels like that's what maybe this is what I've always been meant to do when he finds out more about what the men of letters and all of that stuff.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, I think there's going to be multiple mind wipes, maybe even by like maybe just John, like, but I think that he's going to again maintain, and he's you can tell from his like marine background, like he goes into it with a lot of these skills, so it's not like there's not a lot of learning. Like he immediately starts figuring out that something's coordinates and he uses coordinates all the time. um I think he said his role like with his platoon or his group was kind of like the researcher or the finder, so again that kind of harkens back to what
Ties in.
Sam does too a lot of the time. And um the one thing I'm irritated about that they have to address was I know when Dean went back in 1973, somebody goes up to John and says, say hi to your dad for me. So I'm wondering if within this time period, because right now it doesn't show that there's like a stepdad or anything, but I wonder if like a stepdad comes into play at some
Mm.
point, because the way it's established, it doesn't sound like the mom's had another person in her life since her dad. And she's very much like has raised John, has taught him about cars. Again, we do now I have to really rewatch that episode and say, okay, what did they miss, or how are they trying to flesh it out a little bit more without seeming like they're totally retconning.
I mean, to be honest, it could, I could be looking for flaws here, and it could just have been that the way Matt Cohen chose to play John in that scene was Jesus fuck. What?
Mhm.
Dude, I just want to buy a car. Why are you bullying me about buying
Yeah.
this car? It could have just
Yeah,
been
yeah,
like
yeah.
like
No, but
a
but
why
really
is
like,
this kid in
yeah.
my face telling me I
Yeah.
should buy this muscle car? My lady said buy a van. Uh, but now I buy a muscle car. Like I could be looking for issues.
No, and that's because that's the thing with me too, is like I'm trying to I have so the writer was Robbie Thompson of this, and he's one of the producers with Jensen and Daniil. And
Mm,
Robbie Thompson is one of the writers that I've always really liked on Supernatural, and I feel like he is one of the ones that takes the most care with story and having it tie back and doing callbacks in a way that I think are not necessarily fan service but make sense. Like
mm.
I'm pretty sure he wrote something into a later episode of Supernatural that tied back to something that I was like, I've got to go back and look and see if that's actually what happened in this other episode. And it did spot on. And he just called it back like you just would know. And,
Mm.
but it was like a 10-year difference of something that had occurred. And then from then it had been probably 20 years before that this one thing had occurred. And it was just all of this beautiful little layers of stuff. So I'm hoping he does that. I'm hoping he cares enough about the story that they're not going to mess it up too much. But yeah, there's got to be angels. They've got to be calling people back. They're going to
Mm.
bring Henry Winchester back. They even stated that at one of the cons. Gil
Yeah.
McKinney came on and said that. So, flashback, I don't know. Does he time travel back? Um,
Well, that's the thing. It's all gonna be wiped
yeah,
anyway. So they
yeah,
can do it. They could do what they want. They could have him waltzed in a fucking disco dress if they wanted him to. Like
yeah.
it really doesn't matter. And that ultimately is the crux of my issue.
Mm-hmm,
It sounds like if you didn't know Supernatural, that would be really cool,
mm-hmm,
you know?
mm-hmm.
And it does sound from everything you said to me that so much care has been put in by, as you say, Robbie Thompson certainly by Jensen, so much care has been put in to making sure that it lines up. And yeah, okay, canon-wise, it's not going to make a difference because it is all going to be wiped. But let's make it as true as possible. But ultimately, it's pointless. Nothing that they do is going to stick. So it's just Jensen wanted to write a fanfic, but he's got the money to make people act it out. Could have just written it down.
That's really what I was thinking. I was like, it really feels like this is just their way of
is this Jensen's
playing
fix
with
it?
Yeah. That's what I think it might be.
And I've like, so for me personally, I think there are other characters in Supernatural whose stories would be better and deserve to be told.
Yeah. Like I personally, like, I want to see if they bring Missouri. Like I want to see some of these characters that we've heard about. Like, would we see a younger Bobby? Would we see a younger Rufus? Would we see that? And that to me is interesting because those are characters I've liked,
I don't think they could because they wipe John's memory and Mary's memory, but I don't think anyone else's memory gets wiped.
Again, you don't know though. Like that's the thing. Like I just don't know. Or do we just see something, somehow tangible or like something that maybe Sam Campbell knew these people and they don't interact. So there's all this possibility with it. And yeah, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter to the supernatural story that we know, but it's self-contained in this fix-it stew world. So let's just say I wasn't like, ugh,
you don't hate it.
I don't hate it. And I kind of was like, I'm mad at myself that I don't hate it.
You don't have to hate it. You don't have to hate it.
Well, I really didn't want to like John, but I knew there was no way they were going to have him be a main character and you have to make him likable or you're not going to follow the story, right? Like you're not going to want anything to do with it.
I would have followed. No, I would have wanted the actress that played Mary in Supernatural, young Mary. I liked her.
I don't think there's any way for that though now.
No.
At this point. Yeah.
That's the thing. See, a lot of my issues come with there are other people in the supernatural world whose stories deserve to be told. Fucking gimme Jodie and Donna. Gimme Jodie and Donna. Gimme Claire and Alex and Kaya and Patience. Gimme that girl who handcuffed Dean to the wheel of the Impala, whose name I can't fucking remember.
The sheriff?
No. That her dad was a hunter and he got killed. And they went.
She was in that Freaks and Geeks episode. I can't remember her name either. Yeah.
Yeah. And then she got like a little Scooby gang together. And Dean and Sam were like, will you fucking knock it off? And she was like, her. Yeah. Tell me those stories. You know? I could give less of a fuck about John and Mary with shitty parents, Winchester. But if I'm being truly honest with myself, because I could take this as the standalone that it's meant to be, because ultimately we all know that whatever they do is not going to stick, and it is not particularly relevant to the supernatural lore. I'm still pissed about Jared. Yeah, I cannot get past it, and that's why I asked if Mitch was in it, because I was like, oh, if he came to play Samuel because he's on Walker with Jared, I would have been so mad. And I know we talked about it in the group, and Dee very succinctly, told me, she's like, they've dealt with it. It's fine. Like the fans need to get over it. And I'm like, this my person, and I'm mad. And they have dealt with it, and they have got over it. And I have absolutely no doubt that Jared is completely behind the Winchesters, completely behind Jensen. I know he's been to set, the actors that have said that he's really nice and blah, blah, blah. But it's like watching someone like hit a dog and it crying out in pain. And then it doesn't matter how nice you are to that dog afterwards. I still remember the dog in pain. And I know someone was going to leak. They had to say something. They could not have just left it. But Jared's little Twitter meltdown was the cry of pain from the dog for me. And I cannot unhear that. I cannot unsee that. He was genuinely upset.
Yeah.
And
So it's kind of being able to forgive but not forget kind
yeah,
of situation. Yeah.
I
No,
can
I get that.
forgive.
Yeah.
And like I said to you guys in the group chat, I wish it the absolute best of luck. I really do. The fandom is desperate for new supernatural content, and I wish it every success. I want it to go and win. What the fuck? The TV show? Did TV shows win Emmys?
Yeah.
That's yeah.
Yeah.
I want it to go, and I want it to win, and I want it to be wildly successful. But I'm just not going to be on board.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I wish the best to the actors. I wish the best to Jensen and Daniil, you know, but I'm not going to be on the train.
Yeah.
I just physically cannot make
Yeah.
myself. And that's really unfortunate because I don't like Walker or Walker Independence either. So I'm like, I'm boycotting this for Jared, but I'm not watching any of the things he's doing either. It's a problem.
Now I will say, I got hit in the feels big time when Dean's voice came over the narration. Like he just popped in and said something, and like hearing Dean again got me.
Mm.
And then at the end, there's an end scene where he's writing in his journal. It's literally like 20 seconds. It just cuts to Dean on a road with baby. He's outside baby. He's writing in a journal. He's writing something down. He gets in the car. It's from the perspective of you see it from the shotgun seat. It's Jensen Dean. You see the cooler in the back. He gets on the road and he drives. I don't know, there's all sorts of speculation and stuff about, what time is it? Like what's going on? I don't know if we'll ever find that out.
Is he in heaven? Maybe he's in heaven.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking he's in heaven, and like maybe this is how he's learning all of these other things, because again, I will say I've got to go back and find out what the original story was that they heard about them getting together. Because even if it was they met at outside of a movie house playing Slaughterhouse-Five, they meet again, but you didn't know about that, right? Like now you're learning about that part of it. So
see that
they've got to bring Cass back. That's the thing. Like they've got to show Castiel. There's no way there's not going to be angels related in this. Like they're going to have some angels pop in at some point to do the wiping or something, or even God, or even like that's what I'm thinking. Like it's just going to be this thing. So do you want to hear about a couple of the Easter eggs and then we can rant again? So the couple of the Easter eggs that I found, or do you want to rant?
Tell me the Easter eggs.
Mary calls John Soldier Boy twice.
Yes, I love that. That's great.
There was they do a riff of the supernatural theme music that I heard in one point between John and his mom. I don't know her name. I wish I did. I don't remember. I didn't write it down. And that kind of like brought some stuff back. And then the only other thing I could really find was on a folder that they were looking for, there was the name D. Nutter, and that was the director of the pilot episode of Supernatural. So I caught that. I'm sure there were a ton more, but those were the things that I saw that I was like interested in, and I was like, oh, okay. But yeah, I'll watch it. I think Ted and I are going to give it a go until
you hate it,
until they do something that I'm just like, no, I don't think that makes sense to me. If they make me go, oh, you know what? That's really fucking clever. Then I'll probably, because to me, that's a writer, right? Taking something and embellishing it and making it not better, but taking us on another journey with the story. So yeah, that's the only thing I could think of after I was done was like, it's like a fix it fanfic pre-series, and they're just playing around with all of these different things. Now, it's probably going to piss me off if they wipe him multiple times, because then I'm going to be like, Jesus Christ. It'll probably piss me off more if it ends up being Mary that's somehow related to the wiping, doesn't have her mind wiped in the beginning. You know what I mean? Like that will bother me. So
Mm.
it's either wipe them both, but don't have her be the one that's deciding what's happening to John, because then she ends up telling him later when Sam and Dean go back. And, then that would make me think, well, does she just think it's going to happen again, that they're going to, they can just wipe John again or something like that, where they have to not have any autonomy in what's happening to them. They really have to be the chess pieces that somebody else is working with. And I think I'd have more sympathy for the both of them, but I don't know what's going to happen yet. So just my thoughts on it.
Well, let's see. Let's see how it shakes out. John's mum is called Millie.
Okay.
I checked it on the wiki. I Googled
Okay.
it. I Googled it. But yeah, no, the only way I think I would be able to truly forgive is if it turns out that this is Dean just watching all this stuff from heaven while he's waiting for Sam.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering
I would
too.
be
Like, is
I
he
would be
writing it
okay
down
with
for
that.
Sam? Is he writing it like, you
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like, is that a thing? Like, this is what I learned while I was waiting for you about our family, you know?
Yeah. That would have been, yeah. I like, if that's how it shakes out, I will probably watch it, because it does sound, like I said, it sounds like so much care and thought has gone into it. I'm just still mad about Jared.
Yeah.
I can't help it. And there's
Yeah.
like there's no actual canonical timeline where I can think Dean would have been driving around and writing in his dad's journal.
Yeah. And it's older
is he
Dean. You can
writing?
tell it's older Dean. Like, it's not like they're trying to like de-age him or anything. It's older Dean. It's just all of it.
Is it John's journal he's writing in, or is it like his own journal?
It looks like his own journal. I'm pretty sure it looks like a brand new journal, like he's just starting to write. But I'll have to look at it again. I'll probably end up watching the episode again just to see, and then
Just to have a
I
look.
probably will rewatch that one episode where Dean goes back to get more of an idea of, are they really pushing it? Are they really like adding things that don't fall in line with that original timeline? And then it had me thinking, does Jensen convince Jared to come back, and do they have Sam and Dean come back to the timeline when they're older? Do you know what I mean? Like, you could do so much stuff with that if there's still time travel stuff happening. Where it's like before Dean quote unquote had died. Like, maybe they had to go back again. They'd be older. Do they do that? Do they have that happen and just be another thing that we didn't see in the original? All those other things that happen that we just get hints about. It's like there's a lot of room to play with that, as long as they don't. I'm trying to think of how you could fuck it up. I'm sure there's a way. Since you can just wipe it all down and say, okay, we're starting over. But I like that idea about Dean. Like, again, if it's something he's doing for Sam.
Yeah, I would get on the train, and
yeah.
I would get on board with that, because I just can't see, if it was like the only period of time I can see Dean just driving around in the Impala on his own would be before he goes to get Sam from Stanford.
And there's no way that's it, because it's just not.
It's just not. And it's a new journal. That idea. Do you know what? Maybe I will go and watch it with that idea in mind, that this is just Dean's watching all this and making notes so he can tell Sam, who never had any memories of a family, hey, this is what our parents were doing before we fucked it all up.
Do you want to watch it together?
We can watch it together if you want.
Because I would watch it again if you want to watch it again.
Yeah, we can do that. We will find a time to do that.
Okay. And then I really, again, like, that could be your, like, I'm out. That's it. again.
Yeah. The next episode we do of this could be me going, I watched the first episode and I fucking hate it. So
Yeah.
we're listening to Sandra tell us about it now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a
So,
good idea. Yeah.
and I'll keep my mouth shut because I know you like to like stop and go, okay, wait.
I've never ever been bothered about spoilers and things like that. So that's not it's not an issue at all.
No. But I remember hearing about how you watched the show with your hubby. So I would be
He
interested
hates
to
it.
actually watch an episode with you and see what that experience is like
You'll
from
hate
that.
it. You'll hate it. He hates it.
Mm.
I'm a real I'll like pause stuff and like emotionally process and I'll pause stuff and I'll be like, that's bullshit. Why is that like that?
I had to pause a couple times because I knew I was going to have to explain something to Ted because, like I said, there's so much. Like sometimes he doesn't even know what season we're in when we're watching. He's like, "Wait, what has happened and what hasn't happened yet?" I'm totally like confused. So I just like pause and I go, "Do you remember that person?" And he just looks at me and I'm like, he's like, "Yeah, no, I think I got that one." It's like I got that one, but like I had to go about like Henry Winchester again and remind him about the time travel, like busting out of the boys' closet and showing up and all that. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot to follow. Just even in my brain, I can't quite like process all of it. I have to like double check and say, am I forgetting how that happened? So
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Yeah. No,
that was it.
you will potentially you will enjoy watching with me then because there are many stops, there are many Googles, there are many I've seen them somewhere else. Wait while I pull up their entire IMDb page.
Yeah,
So
so
maybe
that's where we're
maybe you
at.
will
So
enjoy this.
this could be a first step. This could be a one and done. This could be a maybe we'll come back and discuss if Karlee really hates the pilot episode. We'll
As
hear
long
about
as
that.
as long as you we will keep doing this as long as you keep watching it. Okay? If I
Okay.
dip, that's fine. You can still tell me about it.
Okay.
But obviously we won't know until
Yeah, and I don't
we
think it'll
know.
be I don't like I said, even if I do like a check-in, it'll probably just be like a quick like check-in about it
Yeah.
or something. But I just kind of wanted once I really like started to sit and think about it after, um, and then after my little notes and stuff, I was like, okay. Like it didn't feel first watching Walker, I felt immediately like
Ugh.
I have to put effort into watching this. I don't feel like it's going to be hard for me to do that with this episode, with this show. Again, and I think it's the familiarity of the
Yeah.
world and my love of the world too that kind of like will help with it. Like I wasn't even worrying about when am I going to see Jensen. Like that wasn't even like in my forefront. Like when are they finally going to show him on screen? Like remember I told you like with the boys, I was like, oh my God, this is so anxiety ridden. When are we finally going to see him?
I was just gonna say that. What a glowing endorsement of the
Mm-hmm.
pilot episode because
Mm-hmm.
she whinged for like every episode that it took us to actually get real live on the
Mm-hmm.
screen Jensen because
Mm-hmm.
they teased us with pictures and videos for a little while
Mm-hmm.
first. If you haven't watched season 3 of The Boys, so for you to be like, no, I was in the story. I wasn't even thinking about him.
Mm-hmm.
That's a glowing endorsement. They should put that on the DVD box.
And like hearing him, like I also forgot because they didn't throw his narration in right away. Um, he just popped up randomly in this spot, and I was like, and that when it like reminded me, oh, he's going to be doing this, and yeah, like I said, just there's just something about hearing Dean and seeing Dean that just it made my heart
Yeah.
happy, and that
Yeah.
felt almost like um closing the book on something too, like the way that Supernatural ended. And I know we have thoughts about that we still have to record that, why we hate the last episode so much. But seeing him again kind of gives me hope that
Mm-hmm.
they might not mess it up. And I do want to see them back. I want to see Sam and Dean back together. Like I want to see that again.
Mm-hmm.
I know we see Jensen and Jared, but I want to see Sam and Dean together again. I
I
don't
want to
know if
see
that'll
Sam and Dean.
happen, but I would like to see that and not Not in heaven. Or if you're going to put them in heaven, make it like a 5-minute thing and then get them fuck out and back down on earth and doing some real shit. Like, like don't like figure it out to get them back where we want them kind of thing. Like Supernatural can do, because it's happened many times before. So yeah.
Yeah.
I was my thought on it. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
We will see indeed. So I went into this like, I'm not even going to fucking even pretend to entertain the show. And now apparently I'm doing a live watch with Sandra. Cool. Good. We're well on board for that. I will live tweet through it as well. I will live tweet so you can know. It'll be great.
Oh God.
So keep your eyes out for that. We don't know when that will be coming, but keep your eyes out, because we'll definitely do that at some point in the next week or so.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so.
We'll make it work. So I suppose that wraps up. Sandra tells us about the Winchesters, and I've gone from pretending that I'm going to watch it to actually agreeing to watch it. So there we go. So this is just going to be a little side thing. So I think we'll just wrap it up by saying you can find it at all the usual places. Links in the description. We won't do a full outro unless Sandra really wants to do a full outro, because she does get upset when I go rogue like that.
No, that's Sandra. Fine. All the descriptions, we'll put stuff in the descriptions as usual, how you can find us and stuff, because we may be changing things up anyway. So let's not confuse people more.
I have bullied her into doing some things.
I am going to attempt. There's no definite, but I am going to look into it. This is
no promises have been made.
All process. Yeah. But yeah, so yeah, if you want to drop in your thoughts or let us know what you thought of it too, we'll be here. We'll be in, I don't know, are we driving, Karlee? I forget. Am I driving? And Dean is grumpily staring at me from the back.
I always, let us know, actually, sly aside before we say goodbye. If you imagine that the podcast is the car, do you imagine that me and Sandra are in the front seat and she is driving because she knows how to drive and I don't? Or do you imagine us in the back seat being driven around by Jensen? Because I have always imagined us to be in the front seat of the car. And I just imagine Sam and Dean in the back, and Dean just really angrily staring into the rearview mirror. So every time Sandra goes to check the mirror, just there he is, absolutely furious that someone else is driving the car.
Could be a very bad distraction for somebody driving, because
it depends how much of a nervous driver you are, to be fair.
No, I'm saying having him in such close proximity behind me, and I would just constantly want to stay, even if he was glaring at me.
I'd like to think,
stare in the rearview mirror.
To think you would put all of our safety above Dean.
There's no guarantee when there's a certain look coming from Dean, so I don't know. I'm just saying.
Oh no, I want to specify this is not in any way like a look. There's no way you could misinterpret this look for lust or anything like that. It's absolute fucking fury.
It kind of doesn't matter. You've seen his fury face. You've seen his fury face before. You can't tell me that's not enticing.
And it just every so often, I like to think every so often, there's like a thud from the back seat as he's stamping on the imaginary brake to make you stop doing whatever you're doing with his car. Not that I think you're an unsafe driver. I just imagine that. Or he's one of those people that like white knuckles like the handle on the door. Or like the back of the seat in front.
I imagine the back of the seat. Like I imagine his hands like on the back, like where I'm driving. Like he's literally like, I could probably feel his fingers like deep, like sinking into the seat and being like, seat. What are you doing?
Yeah. And he's just there and he's
like, pull over now.
With this imaginary brake pedal, and I can see him gripping the corner of the seat like fully white knuckled.
I just don't think he would have me doing it. Like I just don't think it's a thing. We'd have to, like in my version of it, we've taken the car for a joyride. He would in no way, shape, or form be okay with somebody else driving and him in the backseat.
They're not always there. When I think about it, they're not always there. A lot of the time we have stolen the car.
Yeah.
And I like, yeah, a lot of the time stolen is a strong word. Borrowed.
Yeah, borrowed.
Borrowed the car.
Which we did we did that a couple of times. Our original intro was we were borrowing the car, for something.
And we have every intention of returning it. And the fact that we're going for a drive at 1 a.m. when he's asleep is of no
Mhm.
consequence to anything.
Yeah.
We just decided the moon was pretty and we were like, let's go for a drive.
Yeah. Yeah.
But no, I can see him in the back seat and he's fucking just livid. Just absolutely livid.
Yep.
And Sam's there next to him in the back seat with his tablet or whatever. And just periodically you'll just hear, huh? Or hey, get this, or whatever. And then I just turn around and be like, what do you find? What is happening? Me and Sam are just having a nice conversation, and you're like anxiety driving because you can just feel his hand getting tighter and tighter on the seat, and you're like, he's gonna grab hold of me and I'm gonna kill us all.
Oh God. So yeah,
So
it's interesting.
know.
Let's hear your thoughts. Yeah.
Let us know.
But yeah, on
But
that note, we're gonna wrap this baby up, and yeah, I guess we're gonna see how it goes.
Yeah, so stay tuned. There may be more. There will at least be a couple of episodes more, but we don't know if this series is going to run the whole time. It depends on whether Sandra sticks with the show or not, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because we all tried Walker, and then one by one we all stopped trying Walker.
Yeah. Yeah.
So for now, we will say contact links are in the description. Hit us up. Let us know what you think the configuration of the car is on these episodes. And we will say thank you for joining us in the back seat. We will see you next time. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.